Hei,
Hei,
Guillem. Hvordan
hei,
har du det?
hei, Getter Gillem.
Ja, du heter Guillem. Ja, hvordan har du det?
Tag.
Hvordan? Okay, so let me break the sentence up into its parts.
Okay.
So, hvordan is how,
Gonen.
har is to have, and there is that, it. So, hvordan har du det means how do you have it, literally, but it means how are you? So, and
Right.
I think as an answer you could say, jeg har det bra.
Hei, Gare Bra.
Jeg har det bra. Jeg
Hare Bra. Hare Bra.
har det bra. Ja.
You have one advantage here. You know German already.
Ja, men hvordan har du det ikke på tysk. På tysk det wie geht's dir? Og det betyder how, literally, wie geht's dir? Wie is how, gehen is to go, and dir is to you. So it's I'm like, how's it going? Maybe, I don't know. But they're not the same in this case. Men jeg känner ord på norsk. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Your pronunciation is pretty convincing. I must say.
Jeg vil ikke.
Yeah. Tak. Thank you.
Tak.
Ja.
I think Norwegian people has a tendency to do it like tak. There is a some like soft key, maybe, I don't know.
But in German it's tak as well, right?
Danke, yeah, danke.
Danke.
Tak, and it's also tak in Swedish.
Yeah, nej. Nej. It's not.
No.
It's pronounced nej.
Nej. Yeah, I think so. It's
I insist. I need to focus on the phonology because Norwegian it's not pronounced as it is written. So I need to understand the rules.
There are some rules, but they're not that hard actually. You could just see a few of them and just get the hang of it. It's not something complicated. Let me send a link to a few of my friends. Maybe they'll come, maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah. I dag skal ni kuks no coronavirus. In what chat are you typing?
Sorry?
What chat are you?
I'm not typing in the chat. I'm sending a message to my sister
to your colleagues
and my parents to say they are not at home now. I'll say we're doing a podcast. If you come home, don't interrupt me.
Yeah. Okay. Who's this? Who's this handsome actor here?
Which handsome actor? I think this is what you see, but the people who are watching us now see something different.
So I missed the last thing. What are the people seeing?
It's a bit delay.
Gilliam was pointing to the bottom corner and saying, "Who is this handsome actor?" And I was saying, "Okay, people don't see this." Yeah, that's correct now. But you're
okay. Let me just turn on the. I have the night mode here on Notion, so I can't see, or people can't see my face. So, what happened to your camera? We have to show handsome actors on the camera.
Yeah.
Gonna get our viewer count up.
Talon Turkish.
How do I turn off the dark mode on mobile? I think maybe it's automatic. Oh, I don't know how to turn this off.
Donkey fisherman spise middag. I was shocked when I learned middag. Middag means dinner instead of lunch.
Yeah. It's actually very weird. It means the same. No, wait. In German, Mittag is lunch, right?
Mittagessen. Mittag is just like noon, and
Mittagessen. Yeah, it's lunch. It's lunch.
Mittagessen is lunch. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's weird because in Norway it's not lunch; it's dinner actually. So
yeah.
Let's see. We have we have a topic for today. First of all, if this is the first time you're viewing us, my name is Alexander and I make free software to help people all around the world be successful with Anki. So open source. And let's do the intro, guys. Alp, can't you start with the intro?
Hei, jeg heter Alp.
Nice.
Jeg fra Tyrkia. Jeg lærer norsk. Og Guillem.
Hey, Jack Hatter Guillem.
Jeg heter.
Guillem.
Hello, my name is Guillem.
Kanskje kan vi gjøre en episode om norsk fonologien, fordi Guillem må lære den norske fonologien.
Ja, absolutt. Og det kan vi komme tilbake til. So I was thinking maybe we could, we have a bunch of notes for today, and I was thinking maybe we could start a round table, so I can go first, and we can talk about the epidemic situation. So I actually have a unique take on it, and I think everyone has really. So we all know we're living in hard times where the people are forced to social distance, and some people actually have died. I don't know how many, but I think last time I heard in Norway there were maybe, if I remember, I think it's over 100, right? It's at least over 100, and I'm gonna double check that number. I think maybe it's even 120, because so what you would search for then is like dødsfall. Dødsfall means deaths, right? Death incidents.
275.
That sounds about right, because I think, yeah.
It's very low, actually.
If you compare to Spain or
Yeah.
Turkey.
Big time.
Oh, yeah. So we have to get to Spain. But so I remember it was a Thursday. I was on my way to an area called Holmenkollen, which is in the National Alpine area. I go there every week. And I was on my way there, and then I just saw big trucks of television crew, and they were driving downwards. So what had happened was that there was a skiing competition, and the coronavirus thing had been known, right? Or not necessarily whatever it was called at that stage, but they had discovered something, and there were reports about it, right? But it wasn't until, I think it was around March, right, where everything started locking down, maybe even earlier, but around that time, if I remember correctly. And I was on my way walking. I was going to do some workouts, and then I looked at the area in the LP National area, and there were some skiers, and the whole area was locked down. It was like nobody could look, and there was actually a group of Polish people on the other side, and they were very what is it called? They wanted to look at the ski event, right? Because it was closed. You couldn't go there. There was no audience. The ski competition, I don't remember the name of it, but that competition had no audience, right? Because it wasn't allowed. There were new restrictions imposed on events. So that is something, I don't know what it's called, but some entity enforced those, or wrote guidelines. This is what is recommended. So if you're training group, you're not allowed. For example, all of the gyms closed down. Like all of the gyms were just closed. That's what happened immediately. Nobody could go to the gym, and you were recommended to stay at home. Everyone was staying at home. Even where I work for Scrimba, the science park. So Scrimba has an office in the science park, and there they said like they recommend nobody to come to the office. Everyone should work from home. That's what they said. And then our trainings got canceled. Very sad, very, very sad. And it changed to Facebook Live. So essentially what happened was that you had to do Facebook Live. So this was actually probably very hard for the athletes, because the athletes in Norway, they have seasons, right? Where they compete. So they work out. If we look at the ski people, they have essentially the winter is their season, right? Where they compete. But the summer is where they work out the hardest. That's not intuitive, but that's how it is if you look at them. They work out the hardest in the summer, and then they compete in the winter. So, and then you have the runners, right? The runners, the people who do long distance or short distance running, or any athlete really, athletic activities that have competition that require an audience, those are also like essentially canceled. And yeah, so I think that's what happened initially. And then the public transportation, I don't remember what happened in the beginning with the public transport, but after a while what they did was they changed the seat rangings, right? They closed off, like put some tape, so don't use this seat, don't use this seat, like everywhere. And you were discouraged from using the public transport at all. The stores, you were recommended to go to stores within a specific time frame so that you wouldn't meet old people or something like that. That's something I remember. And what else? Yeah, I think that's basically the essentially what happened immediately that affected. Like, I wasn't afraid, but I was very disappointed with everything being canceled. Like, cancel, this event is canceled. Even for example, our Japanese classes, which we have in school or in evening school, was canceled. So we had, after it was canceled, it went over to Zoom. So Zoom actually has become much more normal for me now. I used to use Zoom for years before, right? But now it's like the default. Like, we use Zoom. I used Zoom earlier today on a call, right? So I use it on a frequent basis now, and it's now normal for normal people to use it. So I think that was the intro. So how was it for you, Guillem? Like, the beginning. Tell us from the beginning when it happened.
So, well, in Spain, it's a different story.
Oh.
So, the COVID hit hard back in April. April, no. What's called the third month of the year? It's not May.
March.
Oh my God. Yeah. So, and there was a mandatory confinement. So you had to stay at home. It was illegal to go outside. If you wanted to work in a hospital or a first necessity workplace, you had to keep at your home. So if people were outside, you will get a fee from the police to endure to keep you at home. But things happen, and people didn't respect that. So a lot of people got the coronavirus, a lot coronavirus. And at the beginning, I think in April, Spain was at the top of the charts in worldwide in cases and with deaths. And for instance, Norway have 257 deaths and 70,000 cases. So if I now select Spain, I only focus on Catalonia, which is just a fraction of Spain.
So what is Catalonia for us who don't know geography?
So Spain has autonomous communities. It's like a state in USA.
Mm-hmm.
It's more or less like this. There are more laws and this kind of thing. So Catalonia is where I do live, and the population size, is more or less the same as Norway. Slightly more. I think 1 million more. But if you look at the stats, there are almost 6,000 deaths.
Wow.
And in Norway, it's 275. And in cases, it's 150,000 cases. So with more or less the same population, you get a lot more cases of coronavirus. So the thing is that how Norway acted in the governmental way, how they managed to get that few cases. Because in Spain, they canceled a lot of events, sporting events. So everything that was public was canceled, like you described it in Norway. The classes, all the schools were online using Zoom or whatever. So they did almost the same. So my question is, what's the difference? Why Norway has got so few cases with 5 million population?
Like, their country is huge. The area is huge, and as far as I know, people are also not so keen on socializing and doing some things together. So the country is huge, the population is low,
Mm.
and they are careful most of the time, and
Yeah,
they're rich. This is
exactly. Yeah, continue, Alp. Exactly.
yeah, and so yeah, they're rich, so they have money. They can manage some things. For example, in Spain or in Turkey, if you shut down some things, this has a consequence. This has an economic consequence, and these countries don't have the money to support these losses. But in Norway's case, I think they could manage it well with the money they already have. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think Alp is really hitting the points there. Like the population is small, and then like if you consider like how much space with regards to the population, then it's like if I go somewhere, like I've been to Seoul and I've been to Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto. I've seen how like jam packed it is, and we are nowhere close to that. It's like here you can just stretch your arms a lot. Of course, if you're inside of the city, it's a little bit different, right? There are some small streets possible, but like there aren't that many people here if you think about it. You can almost go anywhere, and then in many places you can end up being the only person in that area, right? Because either people are inside, or they like it's the population size is small, and I think that's a strength here. And also if you look at people here are generally good people, right? So if the directive comes where it says, what was it, FHI, Donkey Fisherman wrote that in the chat. I don't remember their name. What are they called? So Folkehelseinstituttet. So we have an institution, right, which is responsible for people's health. And they also have like a insane tracking system. I don't know all the details, but I know if someone gets something, right, they have a tracking system to narrow down who had what, when, where, right? They can just figure out. And that's because they have procedures. So for example, when someone in my actually, let me talk about that later. There was one incident. So Alp, tell us how it was when it came to you.
Okay, so when I heard about the first coronavirus case, not in Turkey, this was the first time when I learned about it, that in the world there's something called coronavirus and it's spreading. I was actually in Stockholm, in the airport. I was going back to Istanbul, but it wasn't a big deal because in Sweden there was only one case, so you just it's not a big deal actually. But when I came back to Turkey and I went to school for a few weeks, then the first case in Turkey was announced, and schools got closed immediately. I also we we had a break for 2 weeks, and then we started doing online classes. And I used to go to Italian lessons, and my Italian class also got shut down, and we switched to online lessons again. And my father and mother are both dentists, and they weren't doing dentistry anymore. They were doing coronavirus tests, and they're still doing it. They are not at home right now, and they are doing tests. So we got affected because they used to go to work, we used to go to school, but then we were at home most of the time, and my father and mother went to do these tests. But when we compared Turkey or even Istanbul to Norway, Istanbul's population is all more than yeah more than Norway's population more than triple of Norway's population. So Norway's population is 5 million, and Istanbul's population is more than 15 million. So the population here is dense. So you have a huge country and 1/3 of the population, and you have a small city. Yeah, it's a big city, but compared to a country, it's small, and so many people, and it is still very risky. Like imagine using the public transport. There are how many people at the same time? Yeah, and as I said, in Turkey the cases increased a lot fast. So we were seeing a lot of cases, and people now doubt that the cases um, announced by the government are not actually correct. So people say there are actually 10 times that what
Whoa.
they are currently saying. So this is
Yeah.
another problem we can discuss about. Are governments really saying the truth, or are they just making up something?
Yeah, this is very interesting. Like, for example, just to get back to the tracking. So, in my training group, I don't remember what it was called, but quarantena, that's what they call it, quarantena. And I learned about the FH website via this. So my coach, he sent me a message one day and told me, hey, you're under quarantine for 10 days. Don't have like, here are information on what you can expect, right? And then he asked me, because normally we just use Facebook Messenger, right? So I don't share my phone number to people. It's just I don't like sharing my phone number. So, like if people ask me, it's a public on my website, right? Right. So it is visible. You can find it. You can also check the yellow pages if you want. My name is there, but I prefer communicating other means. Anyways, I got the message to fill out my address, like send me your address and the phone number, because this is the information they use to. So let's say someone gets it, right? So someone responsible for an activity is responsible for informing the government about this. And then I think it gets delegated to the appropriate bydel, so part of the city, right? And then there's different teams who are responsible for different parts of the city, and they will start registering all of the information and keeping track of, have we contacted this person, and let's inform this person about the rules. So they have like a process in place that can actually reduce the spread, right? So if someone gets it, it's possible to control it. And actually, uh, I'm gonna drop the link in the chat, but I think where I live is like currently in growth, like it's the highest, I think. I uploaded one in the Norwegian channel a while back. So here it's really bad. I think like 59 more cases just back in September, right?
But that is still really low.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. This is still really low.
One is too much. One is too much for me. So
to put in perspective, in Spain, in a day, they died 1,000. 1,000 people died in a
oh
single
my
day.
God, that's totally insane numbers.
Yep.
Now the danger is real. So, do you guys have anything else to add for the isolation and quarantine stuff?
Yeah, I want to comment something.
Yeah, sure.
There's a cultural difference here.
Mm.
Because maybe in Norway, that's just my projection,
Okay.
that in Norway, they are less prone to go outside. First, because of the weather. And second, because of the low density of population.
Mm.
So if I go outside, there's always people at the street. And for instance, in Spanish and in Spain, it's very common to engage social contact with other people. And with coronavirus, it's harder for people to.
Donkey Fisherman is writing, yes, I never go outside.
Yeah. Yeah, but the point is that if you are used to your culture, it's going outside and you have to remain at home, it's harder because you're going against your habits, if you know what I mean.
You mean like your habit says you should stay inside? I don't understand that. Why should your habit say that you should stay?
No,
Like being pleasant?
no. I mean, the Spanish culture is very outgoing. So you go outside, you meet people, and this kind of thing. So if the government says you have to stay 1 month at your home, you cannot leave for even working. You have to remain at home. It's very hard for them because they are very used to be going outside.
Yeah, okay,
For
see,
them,
yes.
they are kind of depressed. But, okay, I'm home. What do I do now? Because they are not used to stay all day at home. And I think in Norway, it's the opposite. They are kind of used of being with less people around.
Yeah, so I can just talk
Yeah.
from the perspective I've seen, because it's very dangerous with the generalization, because I don't know most people.
Yeah.
But like in my case, I think yes, that's what I've observed. In most cases, people will not. They will prefer the comfort of being at home, right? The
Hmm.
comfort of being in the warmth. And you have to understand, in Norway, for example, most of the year, right, the weather is really cold here, right?
Hmm.
It's not warm. Like it's just probably a few months in the year it's warm. So people are used to staying indoors. People are used to staying at each other's houses, right? Visiting each other, making food, and so on. But there is also the smaller group, right, which is a minority, but they love the nature. They want to stay outside. They want to challenge their limits. So yeah, I would say the, the active people are a minority. If you look at the statistics, I would say that, because we actually did look at numbers from 2004 or 2005 just recently, if I remember correctly, and there we could see that the walking was an activity, but it's the most preferred activity, but the majority of people who do it is a minority, right? Most
Oh,
people
gotcha.
go for a walk if they have to go buy something, right, in the grocery store. They wouldn't go for a trip just for a go to a trip. Even if you look at gyms, like how many gym members do you think there are compared to the total population?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. So I think you're right. And Donkey Fisherman also writes it's not normal to talk to strangers.
Yeah.
So the Norwegian people are nice. I think I've heard that before, but they are quiet, right? I think if you talk to somebody, a stranger, they will talk to you, but it's not normal. Like if you're on a trip walking outside, you would greet someone. If you two are the only ones in a forest, something, you just say hi, right, and
Hmm.
continue. But some people are special, right? They are willing to talk to you. They talk to you. For example, some older people, you can meet them on a trip and they will talk to you, right? Because you're just outgoing good people, and usually you talk back to them. But that's not the normal case, right? That is a special case. So the general, what is the Donkey Fisherman writing? Yes, it's cold sometimes. 4 months winter, 4.5 months. But I think people in Norway are used to being indoors, right? The general population is actually rich if you compare it to other countries. From what I've learned, right?
Hmm.
Something considered pocket money here is really a lot of money to someone else in another part of the world, right?
Hmm.
So a Norwegian kid probably spends more on candy and just toys than yeah, but seriously, than someone spends on their living expenses for a whole year in other countries. So it's insane.
Norway is known for very good quality of chocolates.
Yeah, so there is some good chocolate here, but I haven't heard that one. I've heard about Belgium. Belgium chocolate is something I've heard a lot
Yeah, as well.
about.
Yeah.
But in Norwegian chocolate, it is good. There is a chocolate factory actually, um, not too far from here. It's still a few kilometers in that direction, but it's like Freia melkesjokolade. It's good stuff.
Hmm. So the point, going back to the point, is that Norway have very low deaths due to coronavirus.
Yeah, but
Thank, due to the low population density
mm.
and cultural thing that they don't go outside that often.
So,
Um,
but with regards to the chocolate, before you go into that, Alp, that's a topic we have to cover in the podcast, because they've started doing a new renaissance in chocolate production. Because now they're mixing the chocolate. They have created new chocolate types that are hybrids, right?
Hi-
Where they have multi-layer chocolates,
Oh,
where they
gotcha,
have
yeah.
one chocolate and then Oreo and then caramel and then something else on top. We don't know. It's just
That
it's
doesn't
like a
sound healthy.
no. You won't eat it every day, of course, but it's and also the air chocolates. We have to talk about this stuff, because when you're saying it, actually, I think the chocolate in Norway is very different, because I haven't seen this in Japan or somewhere else. Some chocolates
I
are
think
different.
um, this is getting popularized by Milka. So if you go to a supermarket in Turkey, you will see this similar kind of things like chocolate layers with cream and Oreos inside
Mm,
are the thing Milka does here. But
nice.
yeah, when we talk about chocolate, Belgium and Switzerland come to mind. There,
Mm.
this is what naturally happens because they're famous for their chocolate. But and also maybe Japan, because in Japan I know there are special kinds of Kit Kat. There you don't have them
Yeah,
everywhere, but in Japan there are different types of Kit Kat
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we don't see somewhere
the,
else.
the green tea Kit Kat, for instance.
Yeah, yeah, and actually I really like Marabu. When I was in Sweden and Finland this year, I ate a lot of Marabu chocolate. What do you think? Do you know what Marabu is?
No, it sounds like a cigarette brand or something. I don't know it.
No,
Eh,
it's what the cigarette brand is similar but different.
Yeah, drop the link in the chat and then no in the show notes. Maybe I will see it then and recognize it.
yeah, I have one question related to the coronavirus.
Yeah, sure.
Is that does it play a role the fact that it's free in Norway,
What
the
is free?
the healthcare?
Yes.
So this does this play a role of having less deaths because everything is free and affordable?
Yeah. So maybe I can't really say because because like is it possible that there are some work being done by the health workers which is being covered by the government which is transparent from us possibly because like but one thing I think if you look at the marketing, right,
Hmm?
they have really pushed the marketing with wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, try to stay healthy, right? So I think one of the things that I was looking at that I learned about that surprised me is that you have to understand like the health system in itself is a resource, right?
Hmm?
It has capacity limits. So that was one thing that I learned about that I didn't understand before, because if everyone goes to their doctor, right, it is going to get full, right?
Hmm.
If everyone in an area goes to their primary physician, as they call it in English, then the doctor you go to, then it's going to get full, and that's something they were trying very hard to avoid. So I don't know if the free healthcare has an effect, but if you want to take a corona test today, you can take it for free, essentially. I don't know what the deal is because if you search for corona test, you can see you can see private actors, like different companies who offer the test, and
Hmm.
you can pay like I think I'm just gonna estimate the number I saw, so maybe $65 or something. But uh, you can also get the same test from that company if you ask the government for it. There is this for your prefecture. You can say I want the test because of this and this, and then they will ask the private company to give you a spot that is available, and then the private company will contact you. But if you go directly to the company, you have to pay, right? So healthcare is not technically free. You still have to, when you visit your doctor, you still pay a fee, but a lot of the things are free, right, around it. And the fee is really small. It's like whenever I visit the doctor, it's, let's say it's like, I'm
It's
just gonna,
it's coffee money, right, for
yeah,
you?
$30, right? 30. Now it's a little bit more than coffee money, but
Hmm.
it's like, it's coffee and two
And
coffees and two
and chocolate.
sandwiches. Yeah.
It's coffee and chocolate, right?
Coffee, chocolate, and sandwich. But
But
yeah, sorry, Alp.
I don't think $30 is little money. I think it's quite a lot for healthcare, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
but in Norway standard, that's not much money.
Yeah, but even in the US, I think that's also not that much, right?
Yeah.
Because but I'm not saying it's not much in Turkey. It's probably, but yeah. Anyways, there was two topics I just wanted to cover before we get back to the main topic. So one thing that was an issue was Zoom security. I don't know if you guys saw it, and I'm gonna add a link to the show note.
Mhm.
So essentially, there was some issues with Zoom, right? And this is actually something maybe we can look at in the next stream on Monday. No, sorry, on Tuesday. Is that the stream? Tuesday, I think. Because there were people who just went into Zoom meetings and they recorded it, right? There was no password security, and It was there was a huge mess with Zoom security, right?
Hmm.
The servers were located in China, and a lot of weird stuff like that. Did you guys see that in the news and hear
Yeah.
about it?
Yeah. It was really huge in Turkey. Government even considered banning Zoom. So and we were talking about at school not using Zoom for our lessons, and instead of that, finding another software that does the same thing. But
Yeah.
then that got fixed.
Yeah, so it got fixed also. They made several security upgrades. I don't know the details about it. And then the other thing was do you guys remember the Karsten Warholm, the guy I was looking at? I sent a lot of pictures of him in the Learn Norwegian Discord.
Yeah, I think.
Which one do you mean? There are different people you send. You have
The guy who was running and jumping over, because he's running something called Hekkeløp. I don't know.
It's the Instagram guy, you mean?
No, not that one.
And another thing to say is a lot of the Norwegian people you send us are running. So this is nothing special.
Okay, this runner is a little bit special because he jumps over things. he doesn't just run. But
What do you mean jumps over things?
let me drop a link in the chat.
It's like Killian Tournet.
I don't hurdle running. Can you see the picture on the
Oh,
Discord?
hurdles. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So essentially, what happened is that Norway, they have something called Bislett Stadion, which is the national, the prestige area where the runners run, right?
Mhm.
But instead of Bislett Games, because of the Corona stuff, they did something else, which they called Impossible Games, and I think he broke a record in there. So he did a new record, a new nice record. And I think this was the first time it was arranged. So instead of Bislett Games, it was Impossible Games. And there were some new records set. So a new world best from Karsten Warholm. Maybe not a record, maybe just for that year it was the best, right? I don't want to say, I haven't studied the numbers. So, sorry.
That I'm seeing that in the wiki page of Impossible Games, almost everyone is from Norway, but in the 2,000 meters, everyone is from Kenya.
In the 2,000 meters.
Yeah, Timothy Cheriut, or more or less the pronunciation.
Yeah, but this is not what happened, because this is actually very interesting. So what happened was, you can see it says Norway and Kenya, right?
Yeah.
So Timothy Chariot is the current world record holder on the 1,500 meters, if I remember correctly. So he has he probably got offered something for competing on this, or I don't know. But this happened in Kenya. They were competing virtually, essentially. They were showing the Norwegians. You could watch them, and then they were showing the Kenyans. They would switching between the cameras. And it was actually an interesting event. I recommend you guys checking it out. I'm going to drop the link to the event, because I don't normally look at people who jump. You know, the people who take the stick, whatever it's called. They take the stick and then they jump.
Yeah, I know that. I don't know the name in English. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually very interesting, because there was one guy who was doing it from his home, right? And they were switching between the cameras. So it was actually very interesting. They were showing him in his backyard. And then we were switching back and forth. So it was actually very interesting with regards to the camera angle. Right?
Okay, it's called Pole Vault.
Pole Vault.
Yeah.
I dropped the link in the show notes. So that's essentially the first part of the show. We should get back to the main topic, and that is how to stay productive during the quarantine. So I just want to say, first of all, with the quarantine time, it's Guillem was pointing out with the Spanish people, for example, they're not used to staying home. In a case like that where they're outgoing, I think like this is a challenge for people, because you're spending most of the time alone, and you're probably, depending on where you are in the world, you're probably most likely discouraged from going to the office or to the venue you normally go to, right? So if you get more productivity, for example, in a library, you can't really do that. If you get the productivity in a coffee shop, you can't really do that, right? Because they have imposed limitations now. So I think it's important to acknowledge that it's going to take time, right, on certain things. So it's better to prepare for that, and then set boundaries, right? If you set the boundaries where yeah, I have a few thoughts on that. For example, the reward system, right? You say, I'm going to do this for so long, and then you have a reward. If that's hot water or water or sparkled water, there are many variants of healthy alternatives out there. You can figure out some. So I think for me, a reward system works. How is it for you guys?
Alp?
Usually, it's not the reward that makes me do something. It's if I get motivated enough, then I'll do it very easily or not. So it's better to try to get motivated instead of um, faking some rewards. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, it's better to be motivated. So how do you motivate yourself when you're supposed to be alone, or you're at home? You're alone most of the
Yeah.
time, aren't you?
Okay. So this quarantine and school situation was different for me because I always imagined a life where I didn't have to go to school and I could do everything from home because I thought you lose a lot of time at school. You do a lot. You use a lot of time to do only little things. So when you stay at home, you have the opportunity to plan your day yourself, and
Yeah.
you can use your own time. And when you do that, there are plenty more time for that you can do anything else you want. So when the quarantine started,
Mhm.
I said that we had 2 weeks free before we started online lessons. So I used these 2 weeks to prepare some things on my computer. For example, the file structure. When the lessons start, how will I store my files that make sense and I can access them later? And actually, at at the beginning of the quarantine, in these 2 weeks, I learned about Adobe After Effects. I studied Adobe After Effects almost every day, and Illustrator also. And when we were doing online lessons, at the end, our physics teacher wanted us to make a video. So these skills I acquired before the quarantine was really handy when I was doing the video because I made the video with After Effects, and I also used the Illustrator to make the shapes I used there. But in quarantine, I learned a lot of things. Yeah, and it's easier to get motivated if you have control of your own time. The main reason for my motivation was that I could do whatever I want now, and if I fail, it's the reason is only my poor planning skills. And if I am successful at doing things at home, the reason is my good time planning skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very, very good observation, definitely.
Yeah.
How about you, Guillem?
Well, I am not a typical Spanish person, so I usually prefer to stay at home.
Nice.
So for me, actually, was a good thing because now then I don't have to use a alarm clock.
You just wake up.
Yeah, I'm following what my body tells me to do.
Yeah.
So actually, what I did now, due to that coronavirus, is that I speak a lot more English now because now I'm speaking a lot of via Zoom or online, and almost all I do is in English. So for me, it has been a good thing actually. And with Alp, well, my difference is that I already know how to manage my time, so that didn't make the difference. But it gives you freedom because you have whatever to do. You have tasks to do in that day, but you decide how you manage that time, how you distribute each task, and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
What about you,
About
Alexander?
Yeah, so I think personally it's been a little bit challenging because like if you spend most of the time alone, like for example, like
Oh, that's because you live alone, right, in your
yeah,
apartment.
so yeah, I live alone. I don't have a
Mm.
dog. I don't have a wife. Maybe one day, one
Yeah.
beautiful day. But like I used to go to the science park, but now it's like doesn't feel good going there because of
Mm.
everything. But then my colleagues used to be there. Of course, you are focused during work hours, right? So you don't spend that much time talking either, right? There is some social part. There is the coffee machine and stuff like that. But like considering what we were doing, like in Scrimba, with regards to all of the research and development that was going on, then I think it would have been better to be in the same building for certain things, definitely.
Mm.
Because like if you think about it, you guys are probably learning IMBA too, so you see that the documentation is really in a terrible state.
yeah,
There is intentions are good and everything, but like um, before when I was sitting next to the guy who wrote most of the code for IMBA or who made IMBA, it could just ask him, right? But now that Corona stuff is there, we don't sit in the same. Normally, like, I would sit here, he's sitting right next to me, right? I can
Mm.
just ask him. He has a headset. I would ask him and takes it off. But it's also been very good with regards to thinking. Like you get a lot of quietness, so you can actually the opportunity to be productive is there. But I think that you need to structure yourself. You can't assume you're just going to be productive because you have more time. More time and productivity don't necessarily go in hand. So
Mm.
you have to have a tool or something, a process. You can use pen and paper. It works. People have been using it for a long time, but I would recommend using Notion because in Notion you can create everything in there. So I would, for example, figure out like what is important. You could create a page, figure out what is important for you, and then from that create either a task manager inside of Notion and also a calendar to schedule it, and then you can figure out okay when is what, and then figure out where do I have to check to figure out what I have to do, right? So if you just plan the week, for example, I like working by week. So if I plan this week, I'm going to do that. And then I'll execute because on Monday, I can check my Notion. I know what I need to do, right? Or you can check GitHub, or you can check your, you shouldn't be checking your email for it, but you can do it. You can use email. But I think you need something. It can be a piece of paper like I have here. I don't know if you see it. And in
Yeah.
the podcast, I'm holding a white piece of paper with some red text on it. And just having that piece of paper on a table somewhere where you're frequently at is better than nothing, because the most important thing is not to have it in your head, because you need to be able to disconnect, right? And then when you come back, you have it there. So I think some kind of place where you can document, okay, what is important, what do I need to do, and then you do it, and then you repeat, right? So I
Mm.
think I would also actually even recommend to not use music or anything, right? Because if you use music or entertainment, you're going to spend a lot of time figuring out, for example, I've done it. What music am I going to listen to? What's next? And if you guys have seen on the Discord, I've been using like this Octave bot, which plays music for me because I canceled my Apple subscription to save money. So, but the point is that you don't need that, and it actually is better to just work in silence, do the work, be finished, and then go listen to music later. So I think, yeah, Alp was into it, and you also, Guillem, just plan it, figure out what you have to do, and then just go do it. Because if you start, let's say you open your computer and you don't have a plan, that you're not going to get anything done. You're very lucky.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And this is what I did essentially. For a student, it's mostly doing homeworks and projects, and having them ready on time.
Yeah.
So when I go do online lessons, when a teacher tells the homework or a project you have to finish by a certain date, I create. I use Todoist, but there are many different to-do list apps, and I really like them because they are digital. You don't have to, like, if you want to change something, you can easily do it. You can also set a time and it will remind you. And yeah, it's just really easy. And I just break down the homework and put them on separate days. And when I wake up, so this is another thing we have to talk about. Guillem mentioned that he doesn't use an alarm clock. This could be an approach, and you always wake up energized, and you'll feel good when you do that. Probably, I don't know. But if you go to bed at a certain time and wake up at a certain time every day, this also has its benefits. Like, if you end the day properly and if you start the day properly. So what I used to do is I always go to bed at 10 and wake up at 6. This is set. These are set times. I have been doing this since last December. And when I wake up at 6 last year, I used to have a shower, drink some coffee, and at 7, I started my schoolwork. So the homeworks I had to do for that day, I started at 7. And when the school ended at 3 p.m., I I already have my homeworks finished. So this means I will have the rest of the day for myself. This year, it's a bit different because I'm in the last year of high school and there are a lot of homework and a lot of things I have to do during the day. But still, if you wake up early, you can. These days, I just relax, but it's better to start your day early, because if your lesson starts at 8:30 and you wake up at 6, you can have a shower, have your breakfast, and get ready for the lesson. If you wake up at 8, then you'll be sleepy during the lesson, and this is not good. You won't be able to concentrate. And when the school ends at 3 p.m., I just do my homework, and then yeah, you know that I join the streams, learn coding, and yeah, you can do many things aside if you manage your time properly and the things you have to finish um, planned and early. So this is what I suggest. And Guillem, I have a question for you. As someone who ditched alarm clocks and started waking up when he wanted to, how was your experience? And do you recommend it? Because this is almost exactly the opposite of what I do.
Yeah. So long story short, before I was doing the opposite. So I was sleep deprived because I had a lot of schedules with uh, with different time frames. But I lost my job eventually, and now everything I do is remote work from my computer. The point is that I can do my work at any hour during the day. So what I changed is now I wake up by myself without artificially waking up with an alarm clock. And I also do, I went to bed as well when I feel sleepy. This means that I not always wake up at the same time. Maybe at 7 a.m., maybe at 8, or maybe at 11 a.m. in some cases. And this is, yeah, yeah. And I can go to the bed at 11. Usually I go about midnight. The soonest I go to bed it's midnight, and I can go to 2 a.m. or whatever. But that's a huge difference. Not only in how you feel refreshed, you don't feel sleepy. So I just wake up, and I grab my computer, and I can start working or using Anki or whatever, or learning with just 5 minutes of waking up. Your mind is so fresh. I know how it's it's another
Wide,
level.
wide
It's
awake.
I
wide
think
awake.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
wide awake.
yeah, it's like I know because what I was doing is taking caffeine to get to, to start the day, but that's not healthy, and that doesn't work in the long run. And the thing is that I can do this because my work is remote. See, if I have a job which I have to or a school which I have to start at one fixed hour, you cannot do this because you start always at 8 o'clock or whatever.
but I have still some things to contribute because this is also the case with me. When I go to bed at 10 and wake up at 6, I'm always really awake after 5 minutes of waking up because yeah, you get the sleep you need, and it's you get used to this time frame. So most of the time I wake up maybe 5 minutes before, so it's of 5:55 um,
Hmm.
usually, because my body is used to that. And yeah, and caffeine. This is also important. I don't drink caffeine early in the morning, like except the times when I want to enjoy the caffeine. I never use caffeine to feel awake.
Hmm.
As I mentioned, I used to drink coffee in the morning after having a shower, but the reason was not that I was not awake, because I was awake and I have also had a shower. So it's so I I also try to not consume caffeine after afternoon. So uh, you don't drink coffee early in the morning for waking up, and don't consume caffeine after a certain time. So your sleep will be comfortable then.
You guys
Yeah.
are really good at this.
And what about you, Alexander? Do you take caffeine?
Yes, I use caffeine as waking up, but I drink also a lot of hot water. So, but I still have the challenge with caffeine is really a big problem for me because I drink too much coffee, like insane amounts of coffee. So,
Uh,
but I use the cheap stuff. I drink the powder coffee. I don't drink any expensive
but
coffee
you
normally.
you do it for the caffeine or for the taste?
I just do it for the taste because I want something to drink, something warm, and then and I don't. Today I don't have tea. I haven't bought tea in a while, but I also drink just hot water. For example, I do it like at the latest. That's I try to drink coffee before 8. No, it's 6 p.m. Right? 6 p.m. It's after 6 p.m. It's too late, right? I don't want to
Hmm.
risk the sleep. But actually, I should try out like Alp is doing before 12. But I actually noted down a few topics. So I think the sleep is 100% really important. Like for me, at least, I work out a lot,
Yeah, it's
and
even more
it's
important for you.
yes, it's even more important. If I don't
Hmm.
sleep properly, I'm gonna get the injury, right? That's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time. And then uh, for cognitive, like being focused, being aware, sleep is. I don't. I don't think you can catch it up. I think this is like if you don't sleep, then it's gone, right? So
Exactly.
it's better to do what Alp is saying. Have a schedule, right? With be consistent with the sleep. I think it's better to sleep either like you're doing Gillem freely whenever you want, but I think it's better to do the Alps approach where you have the same time because then you know you're getting about the same amount of sleep every day, right? And I think that is better for you and for the body because if you look at top athletes, right? They coronavirus is not something new for them. Like they live like that normally, right? A top athlete is careful with bacteria and infections and sickness, right?
Hmm.
They isolate or they avoid people. For example, if you look at the ones who train in training camps and so on, most of the time of the year, like for example, Eliud Kipchoge, which we looked at, the guy who ran in the London Marathon and did not win. Nothing negative; it's just the truth. But he spends Mondays to Saturdays in a training camp. And then Sunday he goes to his family. He has a wife and kid. But Monday to Saturday, and you know, he lives in Kenya, and Kenya is probably like Turkey, like with regards to maybe even more, even cheaper. But like the salary he has, he's essentially really, 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 really rich, right? He doesn't need to do all of this stuff, but he still does it on Monday until Saturday. He goes to the training camp and lives there, right? So the things you can do consistently is what works. So if you have a consistent schedule with the sleep, I'm confident that is going to help you with the overall performance. But so I think maybe Gilliam, you're probably not gaining so much as you think. Maybe you're even losing some things because I
There
think the
is
consistency is really is
Yeah, actually,
yeah.
the sleeping pattern it's counterintuitive,
Yeah.
and forcing you to wake up is actually not healthy with alarm
I
clock.
don't. I don't think so.
There is,
We can
Yeah.
cover this in other day if you want with
I,
more detail.
I want
Absolutely.
Yeah, Alp.
I want to say something really important because there is another question with sleep and going to bed. So Guillem said he sometimes stays awake until midnight or maybe even to 2 a.m.
Hmm.
So the thing is, imagine you're like a person living back in the ancient times. You don't have internet, you don't have screens, you don't have external light, so you don't have electricity. I don't think it's natural to be awake at 2 a.m. So, and I even think if we removed screens and smartphones and internet from your life, what would you do at 2 a.m.? You'd just be sleeping, and
Yes.
you
That's
would
a
go to bed after the sky is dark. So
that's a very good observation. And in fact, a lot of the sleeping disorders are due to this problem. The compute, everything is electricity, computers, and even light. You can have light, artificial light, anytime at the night, and this is messing with your circadian rhythms. How
Mm.
your body functions. For instance, in kitchen, in the factory, they have lights all the time, so they think they always is day. The night doesn't exist, so that they make more. They lay more eggs. So that they cheat the body with the light, and for us it's the same. We have a lot of lighting, so this affects our body and physiology.
yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so guys, we're getting around the clock. We have to stick to the 3 average viewers. We're coming for
maybe
you, Twitch affiliate. But do you guys have anything you would like to say to wrap it up? Alp, let's start with you.
I want to mention a book, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, and I think it's a really good book, and the listeners or even you can pick up great ideas from that book. And I think we could even do a whole episode on sleep because
Yeah,
it's
sure.
a deep topic, and it's like I still have many things to say. Like I used to uh, turn off all my screens and electronic devices at 9 p.m., 1 hour before going to bed, and this was really helpful. Now I don't do that because I I always have to do something. And when I used to do that, sometimes a teacher would send a message, and I wouldn't see that till the next morning. So this can be a bit problematic sometimes. But it was a really good habit, and I would pick it up if I had the opportunity to do so. And yeah.
Nice. It sounds good. I have to check out that book. Maybe we can even read it and then do an episode before.
Yeah, yeah.
Guillem, do you have anything to say wrapping up?
Yeah, going back is that with the sleep you have to differentiate the cognitive value and workload. So, for instance, for athlete, it's not the same because you have to recover from the workouts.
Hmm.
So here's a huge difference. The goal is not the same. You want your body to recover. You don't want to perform a lot better cognitively all day long. So that's a huge difference. So if I was an athlete, I will change my sleeping pattern.
We definitely, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think there are some overlap with top athletes and how it's beneficial. And I think we should discuss this more in another episode. So thanks for listening. And if you haven't already, subscribe and then please review us on iTunes so we can work with the algorithm. And
My
if you want to
followers,
join live, yeah, please follow on Twitch if you want to join live. Thank you.
it's free, just 5.
It's free. Thanks. Okay. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.